Today, we're going to learn all about vernal pools and explore what's inside. So first, what is a vernal pool? Vernal means spring, and a vernal pool is a temporary body of water. So it means that they don't last very long. In the Northeast, they show up in the fall or the winter when the fall rains and the winter snows come. And then they provide excellent habitat in the spring for so many different creatures. So we're gonna go explore who those creatures are. Let's go. In another video, I showed you what frog eggs look like. In this pool, we've been looking at salamander eggs. And so now, with this net, I'm going to explore and see what's around. And you could do this at home with a net, or if you have any containers at all. So here's a tofu container that I like to use. You can use a yogurt container, literally anything. So just scoop up. The most interesting stuff likes to live in the muck. So scoop up a bunch of muck. Branch, don't really need that. Some of the larger leaves I'm gonna throw it back in. And when you throw things in, you wanna make sure that you always put them back in the water, because otherwise there might be little tiny organisms on there that you don't know about. And so if you throw them on land, these things all live in the water and they need the water to survive. So make sure you're always putting things back in the water. And then we just look through and see if we see anything wiggling about. Oh, cool, I found one little being. Let's put that in my tofu container that I filled with water. Whoa, cool. All right, so in here I just found a whole bunch of tadpoles. So I have a few tadpoles and some things that look like beetles, and then something else that's a little squirmy. And I'm curious, what do you think it looks like? This is called a dichotomous key, and it breaks things down into categories that you can identify your organisms on your own at home. And you can find these online. Just type in pond dichotomous key or amphibian dichotomous key. Any of those will bring something up that you can use. And you basically just follow the instructions that are on it. Or you can bring a guidebook with you. And there's so many different guidebooks. You can go to the library and check one out. I think a lot of libraries are doing curbside pickup these days. And you can look through there's amazing pictures to find out just exactly what is living in your pond. Cool, so by looking through this book, I've discovered that we found a crawling water beetle. And they're really little. Can you see them? And then look at the bigger organisms. What do you notice about them? So I see these crazy fringes coming off their heads. I notice that the bigger ones have legs, but the smaller ones don't have legs yet. So I'm curious if they're all the same age or not. Those fringes in the back, that is one way to identify that they're salamander tadpoles and not frog tadpoles, because frog tadpoles look really different. So I'm having trouble finding tadpoles, but I've got to say it is so much fun to be playing in this mud because it is so soft and squishy. So even just this, totally worth going outside. So now that I'm all muddy, which was really fun to explore the pond, let's see what I was able to catch. So I found a very big leech which they're incredible animals. If you know about leeches, they're blood suckers, which is kind of freaky, but also really cool. And I'm not so concerned that I have a leech on me because you could just pull them off and they don't carry any diseases. And they actually used to be used to cure diseases. Don't try this at home, but back in the day, people used to put leeches on people in order to suck their blood out. And the idea was that any disease that they had inside of them, that would also come out into the leech. And again, don't try this at home. Oh, and I found a tadpole. And this tadpole, I thought that they were going to be a bullfrog tadpole because that's what I found before, but it's another salamander, which is super cool. This is incredible. This jelly mass. This was where the salamanders hatched from. These are their eggs. It's really super jelly and wiggly and jiggly. Definitely reminds me of Jell-O. That would be a fun project at home, would be maybe make Jell-O and make frog egg Jell-O. But yeah, so salamanders lay individual eggs and then they're encased in this gel-like substance and attached to a stick. So they're floating in the water on these sticks. And one mass can have hundreds of eggs. And not all of those eggs are gonna survive. Some of them will get eaten by birds or other predators. The ones that hatch, some of the tadpoles that have hatched will also get eaten. So if this vernal pool evaporates before the tadpoles are able to grow lungs, right now they have gills, and then they're gonna go through this process of metamorphosis and they completely change. It is wild. So if they aren't able to grow their lungs and legs before this pool dries up, then they're not gonna survive. That's one way that we can protect amphibians, by protecting vernal pools. In Jewish tradition, we pray for rain. We pray for rain at the proper seasons. And what would it look like to be praying for rain at the proper season for these tadpoles? Right now, we're in a drought where I am right now. It hasn't rained significantly in weeks and weeks. And so this pool is starting to dry up. And one of the pools up on top of the mountain already has dried up. And so I'm scared for these tadpoles, and I hope that they'll become salamanders before this pool dries.